I've always known I was different, but there's a time and place where you kind of just like bury it down. You don't think about it.
Hey everyone, this is Adrian Pangilinan, take two of the Soul Supremacy, where we talk about all things unapologetic, all things passion and in pursuit of. And welcome to another episode. And if it's your first time, welcome. And if you're coming back to tune in to another episode, thank you so much for coming back. And for today, we have an awesome guest whom I've met through Clubhouse. And y'all know that this is not the first time that I've had someone guest on the podcast from Clubhouse, which in many ways has really been, I think, for him and I, our guest over here, Kapatid, has really been such a special like chapter and part of our lives, especially during our pandemic experience. And our guest over here is Alex Grubbs. And let me read you his LinkedIn bio, because you already know for me, I don't shy away from reading other people's bios because they make my work easy. Okay. So according to his bio, he says that he is an accountant executive at Botton Hall. He's located in Pittsburgh. He specializes in public relations, multimedia, photography, videography, a world traveler, which I love. He is a mental health advocate. He is Filipino American, and ultimately his pronouns, or Alex. See, there you go. I mean, I read this before, so that's why I was already saying it. But Alex's pronouns are he, him, siya, Filipino. And oh wait, hold on. It says view profile, but I have the app deleted, so I can't read any further. But Kapatid, how are you?
I'm good. Mabuti naman. Ikaw, how are you?
I'm good. You already know. Once I start talking, I'm like on a roll. But I'm doing good. I'm doing good. When are
Good.
we in time? We are fall just started. How's the weather there in Pittsburgh?
Yeah, it's been a cycle. It's like hot during the day, really cool at night. The leaves are starting to change color, so that's
Oh, I love
nice.
it.
It's it's September, October is that time of the year where the weather just fluctuates back and forth. And then one moment later it'll be super cold here and I'm going to be like, I don't want to be here.
Oh, do you like the cold? Do you like the hot or the cold? What's your
Okay,
preferences?
I prefer hot, but I do like the cold until after Christmas. And then like January
Mm.
to like the beginning of March here is just terrible. Like
Is it like
weather.
is it like super gloomy?
Yeah, it's
Oh,
gloomy like the whole time, overcast skies, snow, no snow, and it's just cold for a while.
oh
Um,
dang.
People like it though, it's no shade to it. It's just for me.
Hmm.
Can be a bit much sometimes.
Yeah, it's funny because yesterday, like the weekend that had just passed prior to this recording, I was just thinking about like how I love, like, not only how I really love the San Diego weather, but specifically the fall weather here, because we get like good like hit of sun like hitting us, but then the breeze is like really cold. So it's a nice
Yeah.
balance, you know? Yeah. Yeah. So
Jealous.
like okay, small talk. No, I'm just kidding. Talks about the weather. No, just kidding.
Always,
No,
it's like the cooler talk at work.
I
Oh,
know.
you see the weather this weekend.
Oh my gosh. See, look what I'm wearing. I feel like I'm dressed for the
I
role
know,
for
I
our
feel like I'm
kapatid
at
over
work
here.
too.
It's funny too because I feel like I, for the most part, I've never considered myself a corporate person. Like I've tried, never worked. So that's why I'm just like completely running off like, the freelance and just kind of doing my own
Yeah,
thing. But for today's episode, we will clearly wear the
I
outfit
know.
to interview our kapatid Alex over here. Okay, so on that note, let's get to know you more actually through our
Yes.
icebreaker questions, because too this part that I'm gonna say is it is part of the interview in which like how we cross paths. And I just want to say that we met online through Clubhouse around this time, like a little bit later last year. And we were in a room, a bunch of Filipino rooms, I forget at this point, but one of them was
So
SoCal
many.
Filipinos.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I think all of a sudden we were all just we were all just talking about like our different perspectives on our Filipino identity and what it means to us. And our kapatid over here, I remember him uh like going up into the room, grabbing the mic, and like say and he started sharing his experiences. I don't know what I was doing, but it definitely caught my attention enough to actually drop what I was doing, and I was listening. And like basically ever since then, I was like, I'm gonna follow his journey because what he said in that, in which we will definitely talk about, really like really was touching, and I'm gonna let you explain that in a bit throughout the interview. So my first question for you is, in the icebreaker question, is what are 3 things about you that people wouldn't normally know when they meet you for the first time? So 3 things, maybe like fun facts. I think that's a better term.
Fun facts. That's always something that stumps me. I'm like, what are fun facts? I mean, if you don't know me personally, like,
okay, boring
I mean,
facts, if that helps you.
Boring fact. No, I mean, I think for me though, there's something I really do like cooking. I feel like people don't realize that. Especially like my girlfriend and I like to cook together. I like my mom
cooking.
and I have
You said cooking.
Yeah.
Cooking.
Yeah,
Okay.
cooking. Yeah.
Cooking.
Probably
Okay.
didn't come. Yeah. Yeah, it's fun though, because like my mom and I think as an adult too, being able to cook like Filipino recipes with my mom, like it's different, right? It's like a very cathartic thing to do. And then it's just like I don't do it that often, as in like let's cook every single day. But like there's just something about it that I think is really something that's very cultural about it. It brings community together, always brings community, especially in our community. We know food is like everything for us. Other fun facts about me, I don't know. Okay, so when I was a kid, I played the cello for like a while. People don't know that.
How
They think
long?
it's so funny. For like 5 or 6 years, like for a while. Yeah, like people that I've met since like what is it, after high school, they have no idea about stuff like this. What other stuff? Oh, when I was like a teenager, I used to edit Wikipedia pages all the time. That's so funny. I remember I brought that up in my job interview too. I was like, I did that when I was like 13 because I work for an agency, communications agency. So I was like, all right, yeah, that's something. And then another thing about me that's like a fun fact. No, no. There's always
What's your favorite? What's your favorite go-to karaoke song? Assuming that you karaoke.
Oh, karaoke. Okay, right now I will say though it is what song is it? Traitor by Olivia Rodrigo. I don't know why.
You want to give us a sample? I don't know what the song sounds like.
No, like you betrayed me. That song. Like
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna be honest. I've just heard of her like from High School Musical.
She's a talented though.
Yeah, no, she is. I know. That's why I'm so glad, because I was just like, who is this girl? And she like suddenly like popped off. But then
she got her own bridge in New York City. Dang. They renamed the bridge after her.
Yeah, I mean that's not surprising. I've heard her song like on the radio recently, and I was like, okay, this is catchy. And they said her name, and I was like, oh, that's her. I'm not a hater. It just usually takes me a while to like kind of grab onto new people. Like I need to like have enough downloads from them for me to be like, oh, okay, I like you, whereas like some people just like jump on a bandwagon right away. I'm like watching the wagon be filled with people before I like jump on it before I decide to jump on it.
I feel that. I have another one. I remember I was at this Christmas bar. It's like Christmas bar all year round. Like there's Christmas lights and everything.
Oh my gosh, what's it called?
It's outside of, I forget what it's called, but it's outside. I know how to get there, but it's outside of Pittsburgh. And I remember the one time my friend and I, like we got off work, it was like 1 a.m. and we were drunk and we just sang Pony by Genuine. Like,
give us a sample. I've never heard the song either.
You know this song, like jump on it, let's do it, like that one.
Oh, this one is. Oh, yeah. I've heard this song. I didn't even know what it was called.
I'm weak.
Okay, that's cool. It's funny that you mentioned like that you played the cello, because in my past life, a lot of people nowadays wouldn't associate me ever with like playing the violin for like 7 years.
Yeah.
And then that I've also like, yeah, you know what I mean? Like being part of that, like orcador, at least is what in my circle we'd call it. And then also to like, at some point I actually found myself editing Wikipedia, like when I was a teenager too, and realizing like,
it's fun.
You can just make an account and you can just actually edit and make them true or expand on it, because I'm not sure about you, but I grew up blogging like around that time. So it made sense for me to just like kind of be in that space of just like, oh, let me just type this, or edit something.
Yeah, it
But
was
but but
fun.
not but not spread fake news.
Yeah, honestly. No, I mean, when I went to high school, I started taking journalism classes. I ran the school newspaper there. I mean, like later in my high school career, but that's where I started getting, excited about writing. And I think people don't realize is like writing transcends just the piece of paper, right? Like writing is everywhere. Writing is the art that we see, the media that we see. Everything is written for that to be that way. And a lot of people don't realize that. Because even in some job interviews, they're like, well, can you write? Like, you've done all this TV stuff. But I'm like, I wouldn't have been able to do any of this. Like, I went to school for broadcasting.
Mm,
So I wouldn't have been able to do anything there without writing the show together, right? You can't just roll up and it's like, oh, hey, like there's a lot of writing that goes into it, how you break it down, how you want it, and how it comes across when it's done. And when you watch a movie, that whole thing is written from the way that everything looks to the way where people are looking to what people are saying. It's all put together that way. So that's how I feel.
yes. Actually, I have two follow-up questions. So not two, well, not well, I have a follow-up question and a follow-up statement. So in what you were saying about like how writing transcends, it literally just clicked to me that like the only thing that really gets passed on besides artifacts is like writing, through
Yeah.
history. You know what I mean? Like that's the only, like one of the only main like few pieces of like archives that we get to be like, this is actually what happened in history because someone wrote about it. And it somehow, transcended time and like it made it to 2021.
I know.
Yeah. And so this is actually like a question that I usually will ask later, but are you not in broadcasting anymore? Did you change careers?
So actually, like I went to school for broadcast reporting at Point Park University here in Pittsburgh. So I did like everything in college from, on camera television to television production to radio to I wrote for the school newspaper. Like I did all of that.
Mm.
When I in my senior year,
Oh,
my senior year, I was about to graduate looking for jobs. I was
oh,
offered a graduate assistantship at my school, which in turn would pay for my master's degree. I was like, I'm gonna get a business degree because I'm like, I think it's a great supplement to what I'm doing already, and I don't want to go to get a master's degree in something I just got from here. And I
that
worked in
makes
the
sense.
international admissions office, so I got to work with a bunch of international students and their like journey and process. Not only like once they get to the school, but like even beforehand. The whole process from applying to being accepted to getting your visa, that whole process. So I did that. I got my MBA, Master in Business
Wow.
Administration, and then thank you. And then now I work for a global agency, communications agency. It's based out of London. And what we do is we do public relations and communications, digital communications. So we have clients literally globally. And we have just opened up our LA headquarters here in the US. So that's US home base. And we have
Oh,
UK
okay,
home base in
LA.
London.
Two
So we'll
hours
see.
away from two. I'm only 2 hours away from LA.
Yeah. Well, I work here remote. I'm on the East Coast team, but hopefully make it to SoCal eventually.
And get the sun that you need.
Hell yeah.
That's cool. That's a really smart choice. I mean, that also sounded like something that I experienced my senior year. Like I went to school for dance, and like for a very long time, I was really into it. And then when I like around the time that I was creating my senior capstone, like I just felt like a shift, like
Yeah.
it was a really scary shift actually, because that was when I started to realize like I don't think I'm as passionate about this um as a career, professional career. Like everything else I loved about it, but I could just never see myself taking that like traditional route that everyone else was taking in my class. Like a lot of them wanted
That's
to
how I
be
feel.
teachers, everybody wanted to be choreographers. And first of all, I'm really bad. I mean, not that I'm bad at teaching, but I just feel like pedagogy, like the traditional way of teaching, I felt like wasn't for me. And also to being a choreographer and a professional dancer, I feel like I've done it enough where I felt like I did a thing, and as scary as it was, I was like, oh, I think I'm ready to make a pivot. Then I actually pivoted to my second thing, which was like at the time editing, video editing, which then kind of a whole other conversation of things. But
Yeah.
even now, as we're speaking, I'm like, literally, as I'm talking right now, like I'm like at that point where I'm like pivoting again. I'm like, oh shoot, the thing that I knew, which was video editing. I'm like, oh shoot, I'm making a change. But all these things. So I just,
Yeah. That's
yeah,
why I always say, like, even after school, I think someone said this like at a conference I was at, but it really stuck with me. It's like life is not a linear path, it's very circular.
like,
So there's things that you do and then you move away from it, you'll come back to it and all that stuff. It's a flux and flow. Sometimes it works right now, and what works right now might not work in a year, but in 2 years you're like,
yes,
wait, this is very relevant to what I'm doing right now. So it
yeah,
all comes full circle. And I even feel that way sometimes because, like, look, I'm in a different career path, but one of our clients, and I can't sit here and say who they are, but like one of our clients is within the television sphere, or a couple
okay,
of them. And I'm like, I'm still here, right? I'm not in the traditional way that I thought I was going to be there, but I'm here doing what I
mm-hmm.
can do based on the job I'm in right now. That's how it works. Everything will come full circle eventually. And I even feel like Clubhouse in a sense, like, it was very cathartic to people, but for me, it felt like, oh, I feel like I'm back. Like, this is the stuff I vocally trained to be this, like,
Mm.
for 4 years. And it was so funny because jumping on that app, everyone, would say, oh my God, you know how to do this and stuff. I was like, look, like, I went to school for this. You know what I mean? It's just like, and it very coincided with me being part of my local Filipino association, my Filipino
Mm-hmm.
American Association. And now that I was like, this is all coming together for what that was in that moment.
Yeah. How many months would you say you were on Clubhouse altogether? Like when did you like get on Clubhouse?
Oh, I got on in like, I think, what is it? I got on in like February. So
Oh.
my coworker, uh, a friend from college, she was already on Clubhouse because what is part about being part of a digital communications agency, when there's a new app, we're there, right? So she had an account because everyone was joining it, and then she was like,
And
"Wait, do you want this invite?" And
yeah,
this is before I
I was
worked
gonna
there. I
say
was like,
at the
"Yeah,
time, or I mean,
yeah,
I'm not sure how it is now, but I know
no,
you needed to get it to have
yeah." At
gotten
the
an invite.
time, yeah, I
Mhm.
think now it's open, but at the time it was invite only. I was like, oh yeah, bet, like put me on there because I kept reading stuff about it. At the time I was like, oh okay, this is like the secret app. I know nothing about it. So I got on there. I was like, oh cool. And the first thing I was like, you know what, this is like if we go anywhere, where are the Filipinos at? That was like the first thought. And then that's how
Ah,
like I fell into Filipino Clubhouse, and it just has been a steady roll since there. I think the first room I was in was like a Bahay Kubo room,
oh
and I was
yes,
just
I remember
listening.
that the Bahay Kubo. I think the Bahay Kubo was a very. I feel like that was the
It's the
very first like
OG. It is the
Filipino.
very first. It was the
Oh,
very first club on
everyone was
Clubhouse.
looking for like their shelter. Like, where do I go in this clubhouse? And then you find the Bahay Kubo. You
Yeah,
go
Kuya
inside.
Irwin.
We all don't fit. We all don't fit in that tiny ass Bahay Kubo.
And we were all there though. So
It's a big yeah. Oh my gosh, I'm getting flashbacks. Yeah. Yes.
right.
Yes, sir. Okay. Okay. And the reason why I asked that too is because I think, well, I don't know. I mean, for me personally, like, just like our kapatid Alex over here, like Clubhouse was definitely like a significant role, at least in our like, I'd say maybe pandemic experience. Even though for many people, the pandemic was clearly the pandemic.
Yeah.
But I feel like being in that space, like getting to meet people, like if I hadn't jumped on Clubhouse, like this moment would not be happening. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's just
No.
like at hold on, let me get my words together. It's coming at one point in time. There you go. Like people that needed to be there showed up. I would say a lot of times like heart leading. Like it wasn't because the app was very like audio based, so you really don't get any kick for like visuals because you're just looking at circles and like people's
Yeah.
like now at this point over curated like profile photos, but it was really about the message, their messages, the intonation of their voice, the the way they said things, the way they express themselves, was I think for me what really was like this is gonna be like a special time in history that everyone's coming together,
Yeah.
but yeah, yeah.
No,
Okay,
I
so
think I do
yeah.
think it was very interesting time. I feel like, I mean, even at this point, how many months later,
Oh,
like
sorry.
this is real life stuff. Like, I've met so many people from Clubhouse in person. Luckily,
Mhm.
when I've been to New York this year on like other like trips I've done, or even when I went to LA, like there's a big Clubhouse meetup, and I kind of just fell into it. You know what I mean? I already had
Oh,
this
you.
trip planned. I had this trip planned before like
Mhm.
Clubhouse, right? Because my girlfriend and I were like, let's go to LA. Like we're thinking about it. And I was like, let me start my job first. Let me see what vacations like we already had in our mind. So we're going, and then it kind of lined up with so many other people, and then a lot of people already lived there, right? So
Yeah.
it kind of just I didn't get to meet everyone, but like I got to meet like a significant amount of people, and I'm like, this is real life. Like I know you in person. Like you're my go-to if I come to this city type, and it's things like that, and it's still ever growing. Like you
Mm.
want to meet people. I want to meet people because like we've connected. Of course, you got to watch who you are talking to online because like of
Oh,
course it's
yes.
online. Vet your
Oh,
people
yes.
correctly. Don't go alone. But like
Mhm.
there's definitely a way to connect and meet people, and it's real. And I feel like I've met some real people. There's some bad actors, of course, that we've all encountered. That's just life, though, right? So you just gotta
Mhm.
keep to it and know who you are and be safe about it. But I think real friendships, and it's not even just me. I've seen so many other people. They just sprout these friendships from here, right? And it's very real. So what started as just like, oh, we're on a place on this app speaking to each other. It's like now people are going to each other's like holiday dinners and things like that. I'm
Yes.
not because I'm
Each
like away
other's
from
best
everybody.
man's, bridal
Yeah,
party.
a wedding. Like I'm like I don't know. I live like away from everybody that's on there, but it's really cool to be part of that experience.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I guess this episode is going to be about Clubhouse. No, I'm just kidding.
Not entirely, but it's
No, no,
definitely a big part.
no, it'll feel like it because I guess the last thing I want to say for now about Clubhouse because I know that um, like just like you, I've like gotten because for me, like as a young kid, I've always been interested in like the entertainment and just the entertainment industry, excuse me, especially the Philippine entertainment industry. And because of Clubhouse, I really felt like all of that was just like, like basically I met someone from I like a lot of the people that I've had on the show like you now are I met on Clubhouse. The short film that I auditioned for that I got called for a table read at least, hopefully I get it, fingers crossed.
Yeah,
you
fingers
know
crossed.
from thank you from he's from Clubhouse. Kiss My Mike, I'm not sure if you know him. Kiss My
Yes,
Mike.
Mike. I
Yes.
haven't spoken to him in a bit, but he's
I I
much
knew you
love
would know
to
him.
him.
Yeah.
Much love to him.
Yes. And then like I know I can't say anything, but the cast that he has on there, I'm like one, two, three, four, five, six. I'm like, I know these people, and some of them are like hella A-listers, and I'm like,
Yeah.
is this real?
Like
Like
I'm here.
I'm like
My
I'm here,
people are full.
like
What's
I'm
up?
here. I'm gonna do my role, but I'm like, but if you also need crew too, I'm willing to like step in.
Seriously.
Yeah, yeah. I guess in other words, what we've all talked about here was the power of like community building
Yeah.
through Clubhouse. Get it, CC. Okay, so actually, we're not even done yet with the icebreaker questions, but I just have two more if that's okay. So my
Yeah,
next
that's
question
fine.
for you is: since you talked about your knack and love for cooking, what is your favorite go-to comfort food?
My comfort food. Oh my god. Okay, I will say this though. I mean, it always fluctuates between something Filipino related. But I remember the one time I threw a party in college. I threw parties in college like frequently enough. And then the one time my mom brought like a huge pan of Pensit, and there was just a bunch of drunk college students together. And like that was the best food I've ever had drunk. And like because I never
Oh yeah.
experienced that together growing up, like why would I have?
Hmm.
But experience of that, I was like, Pensit's a go-to, adobo always a go-to,
Oh
and I would say
yes.
chicken
Oh,
adobo because that's what my
mhm.
mom frequently makes.
Oh, that sounds
Um,
so good right now.
and
Actually, on a cold day.
anything ube related, like I'm there, it's bought. Like because we don't get it that often here, because even like places like Trader Joe's, like you get like that's like the only place because we don't have that many Filipino. We don't even have any like Filipino stores we could buy stuff from. They're usually like general Asian or like the Chinese store or like the
Mm,
Japanese Korean stores. Um, but yeah, if I see ube,
yeah.
it's bought. It's ready. I'm here. We're ready to go.
Yeah. Actually, shout out to White Rice in here in San Diego. They like um I tried their food for the first time at the gala that I went to for
Nice.
San Diego Filipino Cinema, and actually by this point of recording, we're actually going to be launching our first Filipino film festival, like all Filipino content. And they were there, so they were like part of the catering, and I like they had this what's that called? It was like adobe, not adobe, dinuguan. Have you tried dinuguan? Chocolate,
Oh, I've been wanting to. I
but you
haven't
haven't.
had it. But I know what it is. I honestly, I think I've had it before, but I haven't had it as an adult, so I
Oh, you
can't
haven't? Okay.
contextualize it.
It's okay. We here on the podcast will also mail you a care package of bloody. Just kidding. It's just like all liver.
I know it'll show up
That's
in the
gross.
mail, and everyone will be like, "What is going on?" I'm like,
There's like flies
okay.
everywhere. But so
Hmm.
okay. So the reason why I point that out is because ube pandesal has been like a thing that recently popped up. So I tried it when I went to their actual like shop in a like a public what's it called,
Hmm.
public market, Liberty public market, there you go. And
Yeah.
then they also had like a ube like butter that goes with it. Woo! It was good. It was really good. Yeah, super good.
I love that. See, no, look,
Yeah.
I just wish we had more ube stuff here. It's so funny because Pittsburgh is so most of the Filipinos that are here are all in the medical field, like for the most
Mm,
part. Because we are a very big hospital type region here.
okay.
So we have a lot of doctors, we have a lot of nurses, and just people related to the medical field working here. So it's
Mhm.
like, but we need some of these like entrepreneurs to be out here and be like, let's open these shops up.
I mean, I feel like I'm talking to one right now who knows how to cook, who has a love, knack, and
We'll
passion for
see.
Filipino food.
We'll see.
Okay, Kapatid. So my last question for you is, it's funny. I'll just ask you, but every time I ask this question to like someone that I've like never like really talked to before, I get nervous, but it'll be fun. So if Alex Grubbs were to have his own TikTok dance challenge, what will the first move look like? And
Oh
you
my
have to
God.
show
The
us,
first move. I
describe.
don't even know. I feel like there's like time in the pandemic where I was like on TikTok and I was just
Mm.
like,
What were you
yeah, like
doing?
when we first started, I was like, yeah, let's go. I don't know what would my move be. I don't know move because all I can think about is just like what
What's
is
the first thing
it,
that comes to
boy
mind?
stuff, and or like
Okay.
there's a challenge like I don't even care if I do it. You know, like the challenge they throw like the also in there.
Oh,
There's a
oh.
dance. Someone created a dance where they like also to it, and I was like, yeah, tayo ay
It,
mag also. Let's go.
wait, is it really ocho ocho, or were they just like booty
No, it's
bumping?
like part of the dance.
Oh, like
I found
ocho
it on
ocho.
Yeah, I found it on what is it? Filipino TikTok.
Oh,
So
yes, yes, yes. I think I've
I
seen
forget
that
what it's
one, but
called.
it didn't do well enough, so it
It
didn't like
didn't do well. It
it
is so
didn't do
funny
well enough.
because my friends here, like in the US, like they were like, "What is this boy doing?" Like right now, because like you can't contextualize it. Like I can contextualize a music video; it's stuck in my life for like ever. But a lot of people can't, so they're like, "What are you doing?"
Ocho ocho. Who sang the Apple Diab sang that song, right? Or who sang
What
that
was
song?
that? Huh.
Ocho. Oh wait, that's not Apple Diab.
Let's
Oh,
see.
yo, we are fact checking right now as we
It's
are
not Apple.
speaking. Is that
Bayani Agbayani.
ah? Bayani ang bayani. Kuya, bayani, if you want to come on the show and defend yourself.
Why?
I,
That's
I I know
tayo. Come
him.
here.
That's crazy. He's a comedian. He's actually like a super comedian. He's very funny. And I
Yeah,
think he's like almost 50, but he looks like young. He looks like he don't age.
that's
Yeah.
the Filipino skin, right?
Yeah. I know. I was just I literally just had a conversation with a past guest about like she's 30 and I'm turning 29, and we're like, like, oh, okay, thankfully naman, we're,
I know you got
our,
the eye cream and everything. I've already started. I already hear my mom like moaning. So she's 50. She literally looks like she's in her 30s. So I'm like, you know what? Let's manifest. Like,
yeah, hydration of the
I
skin,
know
y'all. Hydration of the
hydration
skin.
and what is it? What do they put on there? SPF. That's it.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's what I've been told. Yeah, it's just about like protecting your skin from burning in the sun. Yes.
No.
Okay. So what's the move? So the move was ocho ocho.
Hell yeah, I would add that in there. Yeah, for our people.
Yes. Amen. Amen. Yay. So we made it. And it's so funny. This was only the icebreaker questions, y'all, which will be telling of, I feel like, how awesome our conversation, this interview, will continue to be. So as we segue into, yes, I got my segues right because my segues are always awkward, actually, just pointing that out. And I made it awkward by saying that, but I just wanted to make it even more awkward and clear that I got it right. And it's awkward. Okay. So actually, as we proceed into the main interview, my first question for our kapatid Alex Grubbs is, who is Alex?
Who am I? I feel like that encompasses so much, right? I mean, I will say forefront, and this is how I feel. Like I feel Filipino American. Like that's just innately who I am. Because of the always being cognizant of having two parents that are from different backgrounds. Um, Stuff. I like playing instruments. I know I brought up the cello earlier, but like I stopped playing that. People don't think I played that, but I play the piano. I started playing the guitar. I'm still learning though, and I have a ukulele as well. Um, I have my camera on me at like all times. I bring it everywhere, ready to go. Like I literally had a nickname back in the day, like of wearing a backpack, but people don't realize it's because I have all my camera equipment. I'm ready to go to take photos. I grew up with a Filipino mother, right? Like she already, you know how it was. They always take photos. I'm like, we might as well have good quality ones if we're gonna be taking all this,
Yes.
right? No, but it's not that. Like I do that. I am part of nonprofits here in Pittsburgh. I actually started one with a group of my friends for my high school. Here, we're going to start raising money to start a scholarship fund for the students there soon.
Wow.
I got to go through the paperwork first so we can fundraise, but we're on our way there. Part of the Filipino American Association of Pittsburgh. I literally take photos of everything. I try to capture all of our moments and stuff and put together our, quarterly newsletter to send out to our Pittsburgh region folks, which is a lot of fun.
Wow.
Put together just so they could see, hey, we're here. This is what we're doing. We would love for you to be part of this as well, because Pittsburgh is a little, like, it's not a little town, but it might as well. We're our own little bubble here. It's away from like any other major cities, so we're just our little thing here. I also am part of the Public Relations Society of America with the Pittsburgh chapter, PRSA Pittsburgh. I've been on the board since 2018 and as a multimedia lead. So I took video photos of our events. We can't really do much since the pandemic has started, and because we're still on that, we don't know if we want to have a bunch of people together because it's like more of that going on just because of the field that we're working in. But a lot of communication stuff. I like to travel. Traveling is fun. I think that's like a bug that my dad and my mom have implanted in me since I was a kid. My dad was in the military, so he got to travel the world. My mom obviously left her side of the world to come to this side of the world. So definitely that. And here for a good time, always. And if you need me to create a drink and make a drink for you, I have like 2 years of bartending experience, so I'm ready to go.
Wow. See, that is a fun fact that we didn't know we needed to know.
Yeah. No, I seriously, I bring this up all the time because people don't like expect that. I'm like, I'm ready to go. Even in college though, I was the one who created our drinks at my like parties I would throw. I'd make that jungle juice, be ready to go.
Kuya, I could not. I'm pretty positive that if we were to ever party in person, I would not be able to keep up with you. Be like,
no,
I'm tuning out. Tutulog na ako. I'm gonna sleep.
I've calmed down. Honestly, the pandemic actually grad school put me on pause because there's no way I could have went through that with a hangover. Like seriously, like there was a lot of stuff going on at that time, and then the pandemic hit. So here we are.
Yeah. Speaking of like pandemic changing people, I'll be honest, I feel like I've become the opposite. Like I was such a wallflower, like growing up. And then the pandemic made me like I literally had a clear moment in my life during like last April, like looking at the sun go down for like the 30th time. I'm like, I promise, when the world opens up again, if it does, I'll put myself out there more again. And then end of scene. Then woo! Yeah. So yeah,
You're
so
like, let's
basically
go.
we kind of like switch.
Here for a good time.
Well, I mean, literally, the pandemic has clearly showed us that we're not here for a long time.
I know we're
oh,
not here for a
oh,
long time, so we
oh,
better be here
God.
for a good one.
I
I
know. I
know.
know. Yeah.
Joyce, bless
Yeah.
us.
Yeah. Please. Okay. So my next question for you is, I know that I know that I've like talked about it because it was really important to help contextualize our episode, and but from your perspective, how did we cross paths?
I mean, I would say the same. Like I remember you from early Clubhouse, but I think it was that specific room that we kind of like connected more personally on that. And I remember that room because like it was right before I had my Tagalog class because I am taking classes. I've been taking classes for
Yes,
like over
I
six
remember
months
that.
now.
Oh yeah, I
Yeah,
remember
so
that. You
I've
said that.
taken it for over 6 months, and my boy
Oh my
Jason,
gosh.
Jason
Practice tayo.
Lastinas. Yeah, I know. Ang hirap naman. I'm still learning. Nag-aaral pa ako. It's a lot
Oh,
of stuff to do. No,
that's
but
pretty good.
my boy Jason Lastina, much love to him.
Yes,
He runs SoCal
Jason.
Filipinos. Yeah, and I'm happy I got to meet him like at least twice, like before. I remember some kid was in there and he was speaking about his experience about being half Filipino. He didn't feel connected in the culture, and I was just listening because I had to be
Mhm,
somewhere at like the top of that hour or whatever for
mhm.
class. Yeah, so I was just chilling, and Jason was like, "I'm going to invite you upstage." I was like, "All right, I'll pop in," and that's kind of how we like got to personally interject our paths together.
Yes. No, no, yeah. Yeah. That's so clear. I remember that you were like, "Hey, I'm only here for a second." And then I remember you did say that you were like running late, or like you're running to take your Tagalog class. And I was like,
Yeah.
"Okay, si Kuya magta-Tagalog class." If I may ask, like, so you just said that you've been like doing this for 6 months. Like how far are you in your journey with
um,
learning?
I'm like I'm still going, but like now it's like grammar structure. Like I got that down for the most part. I'm
Okay.
still working on linking some like stuff together because you know how the words they all link together. Add the G, N A. Nah.
Yes.
Yeah.
NGA, nga, mga,
Nga,
ka,
mga,
ma,
yeah.
ta. Yeah.
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 I mean, I try to self-teach myself over the years and like ingrain myself in watching like the tele series on YouTube because they had the English subtitles or whatever.
Oh
And
yeah.
especially since I wasn't home at the time, I moved back in with my parents because of the pandemic and stuff. Because I was like, I'm broke, I don't have a job, I'm rent poor, I need to move home at the time.
Oh,
And but before then, when I was
ain't
in
that the
school, I
truth
was
for
like,
many of us?
right, honestly. But at the time, I was like, I'm not when you're at home, you're like constantly inundated. There's something on the TV. You hear someone screaming on the phone at like 3 in the morning. Like friends are coming over. Like my mom and her friends, they play cards all the time, right? So yeah, they went from karaoke. I remember young, they partied all the time karaoke, and now they just hang out and play cards together. Uh,
I love how they never separated.
I know they're still rolling strong together that
Yeah.
way, but I wasn't around that. So I was like, I need to be part of this because I had Filipino friends in Pittsburgh, of course, but a lot of us were Filipino American. None of us
Mm,
knows Tagalog, right? We
mm,
know some of the words and things like that, but it wasn't anything like that. So I was like, I'm gonna make this conscious effort, but there was a time and over the pandemic as I was like, I want to get a teacher, but I need to get a job first so I can pay a
mm.
teacher to do it. So, but I was like, okay, I'm gonna wait for that to happen. I'll manifest it. And then once I started my job, I was like, you know what? Like this random app popped up called Preply, and I was like, I saw an ad for it. I was like, you are targeting me right now. So I went on it,
It's a
and like,
sign. It's
yeah,
a
and
sign.
literally, my teacher, my boyfriend, messaged me and was like, "Oh, I see you're looking for a class." I was like, perfect timing. I was like, I am looking for a class, so I signed up with him, and I've been doing classes with him twice a week for the past 6 months. So yeah,
Wow. Okay, y'all. So here is the ultimate test of our kapatid, Alex Grubbs over here.
it's just
Can he handle the rest of the interview all in Tagalog?
I definitely
Just kidding.
can.
No.
Hindi ako pwede. Ang hirap naman. I can't do that.
Oh, no, my gosh. I was gonna make a joke and be like, "Do you know how to speak Jejemon? Do you know what that is?"
I
I,
feel like I know what it is. That's why I cracked up.
no, yeah,
But
it's just
please
kind of
explain
like
to clarify it for me.
no, no, yeah. No, I mean, I'll clarify it for like actually for just in general, but Jejimon is like what the Beckies, the gays. It's like
Yeah, that's
it's
what I
very
thought.
it's very like kind of like the same language but like bongacious, kind of like more of a sass to it. It's called Jejimon.
Yeah, that's what I thought. That's why I was like, but I was like, I'm laughing because I've heard this before and I know this, but I don't want to assume.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, what's my next question? Okay, I'm thinking. And just for y'all that are tuning in, whether through I was gonna say visually, there you go, visually or tuning in. I actually don't have any quite like I actually don't have my usual notes because normally I have my notes, but I told our kapatid over here that I'm just gonna free flow this. So since you are someone which I'm actually really, really excited to have you on the show because for the first time I get to like actually just focus on someone's like journey of being Filipino, in which I think has always been like an underlying like desire for me to like talk to with someone. How would you say Alex was a kid growing up? And let's definitely include the context of you being both. At, are you wait? So are you're half Filipino? Oh, not okay. In this context, we'll say you're half Filipino. Then what's your other half?
Yeah.
What's your
Okay,
other
so
half?
yeah, like to break this down, like
Yes.
my mom, of course, she's Filipino, and
Mhm.
whatever mix became with that there, whatever that is, but I'm Filipino all day through my mom.
Mhm.
Um, so half Filipino, and then on my dad's side, my grandmother on his side is half Indian, like South Asian. So my
Oh.
dad's a quarter, so I'm like very small Indian in me, but he basically he looks like a white man. He is a white man. He's a white man. Period.
Oh.
You know what I mean? So that's kind of the place I'm at currently. And I remember growing up too. It's like my dad was in the military, of course. So when I was younger, he was here for a bit, but then he was still active. And think like contextualize it. I am 25, so my childhood was him being in Iraq for a while, fighting in the war on what is it, on terror or whatever, what
Mhm.
was going on here in the U.S.
Yeah.
So
Same.
I remember my Lula, and I say Lula specifically because in Bisaya it's Lula. So
Oh.
and if to contextualize it, it's Lola, but I call her Lula. So she
Lula.
came here when I was a young kid. This was after my brother was born, so she was here. So for a bulk of my like very early stages of my childhood, dad wasn't here, but I had my mom, but she was working. I had my Lula, and then I had my grandmother who lived up the street from us. So I'm like here, and I say that I was like, I just grew up with all these like, what is it? These Asian women, and then I also had like my white aunts because technically they were basically white in that sense, even culturally more white. So like
Mm.
that's where I was. That was my mix. Growing up. And I remember when I was a kid, I was very cognizant that I was Filipino in a way that, I was one of like the only Asian looking kids in my grade, right? There's like three of us. And well, there's like four of us, but the one was Pacific Islander. And like three of us were half Filipino too. So it was just like us three. And the one wasn't as connected with it. And me and this other girl, my friend Kayla, like this is how we grew up. She was in like the dance troupe growing up here that we have in Pittsburgh. Like we're very within, the similar spaces and kind of our allies in school when it came to that specifically. But it was so crazy because like, you know, people, and I will bring this up, like we do experience racism. It's not the same as other people, but I got the brunt of every Chinese joke,
Oh
every
no.
Chinese racial slur, right? Whether it was very subtle or very like overt in your face. I feel like here it was more subtle because that's usually how it was. But I was
Yeah.
just like, but I'm Filipino, so like I'm confused because like you're saying something about Asian and Chinese, but like I'm Filipino, but like what you're saying, like one, it's wrong, but two, you're not even getting the
They were
ethnicity right. So
they
like,
were
what is going on here?
they were confused themselves. Poor
Yeah,
kids.
so like, and that's why like I don't have like too many ill feelings towards that because I'm like, I can't be mad at children for doing children things, but I can be mad at where were the parents in that specific end. And even for me too, and I love my parents too, but there was never like a concrete conversation of here is your identity, right? Like let's talk through this or what this is. And this is what you're
Communication
going.
in general, that's
Yeah,
what it is.
yeah, and what is it going to be like when you walk out the house? And I think that was the conversation that was lacking specifically. when you walk out of this house, how is the world going to perceive you, right?
Oh, damn.
And I don't think, and especially, and from my dad's perspective, like even though like my grandmother was half Indian, and it's like he's very white in that aspect. He's not thinking of that. And then like my mom, on the other hand, I think she was dealing with her own experience of figuring it out. And you know how Filipinos are, we're gonna lay low. We're not gonna make any big
noise, or
scene.
we're gonna be
No, shh. Like I know I'm experiencing this, but like I'm gonna keep it low. This is okay, and we'll roll with it. And I think, and I feel like for a lot of Filipino Americans, it's usually generally what we hear, like, just mix in, don't make any noise. And like, that's where it like went with that. And by the time I got to being a teenager, I remember this one time I worked at a movie theater when I was in high school. So, like the person who rips the tickets and tells you where to go and things like that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I worked a bunch of stuff there, like box office and like the concession stand. But at the time, that's what I was doing. And some, white woman came up to me, and I had my textbook up. I was like 16 or something. I was just.
What did she tell
you?
Go ahead, tell us.
Yeah, no, it wasn't anything. She like walked up to me like unprompted. Was like, "Oh, do you identify as Asian American?" And I was like, I mean, yes, but I'm like thinking, I'm like, this is not the question that you should be asking me. Like, you shouldn't have asked me that. But that's a valid question for me to ask myself. What is this? What does this mean? And I think that's what slowly but surely kickstarted that journey. But it wasn't like, oh, we're gonna run through it like real quick. It was like over the years, it was like, okay, I want to go to this Filipino Association event. I want to be there because I want to know more about it. When I went to college, I was like, oh, for my history class, what do you want to write about in American history? I was like, I want to write about the Philippine American War. I know nothing about it, right? And it kind of like steady rolled. I was like, oh, let me download learningtagalog.com. And it was never all at once. It was just spurts over the years. Yeah. And I think once I went to grad school, and actually I went to the Philippines in 2017, the first time as an adult. I went there as a kid. So like I was there, but I didn't contextually get it. So being there as an adult, I was like everything hits you at once. I'm like, I don't know the language. I can't communicate with these people. A lot of them, they speak English, but like I talk too fast. I say too much slang. Like they don't understand what I'm saying, right?
Yeah.
And now I'm sitting here, and I remember my mom and I, we were in like NCR. We were in Makati City. We're just chilling at like a hotel pool, and we just had like a long conversation about what this is and all that stuff. And like, there's apologies and all that stuff, but I had a lot of resentment for a while because you contextualize it. I was like, that's 18 years, right?
That's a long time.
And it's hard to unravel. And I think that's where it started. Then once I went to grad school, I was like, okay, let me get more involved in all that stuff. And then once the pandemic hit, I was like, look, I was already on this journey on this. Let's just keep going on that. And then I was asked to be part of the board of directors of the Filipino American Association of Pittsburgh. So I was like, I will run for it. This is a perfect time. I want to be part of this. And then, I was already volunteering, doing stuff over the years, but this was like the moment I was like, yeah, I'm going to do this. And then the new year started, and then I was doing all that stuff with them. And then Clubhouse jumped in. So like, it all kind of fully came together in the way it feels so different now.
Wow. That's like so many years of just kind of like interweaving, but then it sounded organic, it's just kind of like it felt to me that you allowed your heart to just kind of like lead you and show up where you needed to be, one place at a time, and then slowly but surely you started kind of piecing in the pieces together.
And like over the years too, like especially now, I feel like like it was over the years, it was always like slowly but surely, but now it just kind of like interwoven together. And that's where that big spurt and big cathartic moment, we're all in Clubhouse talking about this stuff. And these are like things I was talking to myself about, or trying to have conversations with my friends about, my friends who are Filipino. But this time it was like, here we are. Like, we're all like, what are we going to do about it? And that's where, I think that's where a bunch of all these different things popped up, different rooms. And I know some people are trying to do stuff outside of this as well. But for me, like I just sticking to my local community, and because I think it's just as important, in my opinion. So this how kind of weaves together. And even then, like I tell my girlfriend this too, and like what is it? Even though that she's white, I was like, even though who knows what our future children may look like, they're still going to be Filipino at heart. Like, and I introduced her to so many different things. I was like, we're doing Christmas paroles. Like, you're going to know how to do this.
Yeah.
Like, this is a tradition that we could start with us. And I even said too, I was like, I don't even care what my kids look like. I want them to know Tagalog 100%. Because I don't want this to be like, oh, that's Lola's thing, or that's my thing, or that's dad's thing. No, this is our thing. And even if you don't look like it, you're very much part of it. And this even reminds me, this one girl I went to college with, she's not Filipino, but her stepdad's Filipino. She grew up with him. Her boyfriend, her like fiance is Filipino as well. And then she was just like, but culturally, she might as well have been close because she's been part of it. And I think that's what's rich about it. You can't claim the experience of being Filipino, but you could definitely be part of our experience together.
Yes. Okay, mic drop. Okay, he said it. Or Mike Combe. Okay.
Mike Combe.
I have some follow-up questions. First of all, thank you for that. Oh, I was like, the whole time I was like, mm-hmm. Okay, so my first one is, so before that point in time where you said you were 16, you're working at a movie theater, and that lady who unknowingly actually would have like, kind of catapult you into this like kind of self journey of like realization, identity, in your heart, in your heart, like, how did you see yourself? Like, how did you feel about yourself? Like being like knowing that you were both, but before having that context of like, I'm not just one, but I'm actually two.
Yeah, I mean, I think even at that time, because that was around the time I'm applying to, colleges. I'm trying to take the SAT, right?
Oh,
and we have
yuck.
to fill in these like, thing. And at the time, you can only fill one. You could either put white or put Asian. And I'm like,
yes.
but I'm not one or the other. Like, I'm literally both. So I'm like confused on what to put because I never had to do it before, right? I didn't know what my parents were putting on stuff. I didn't know anything.
Oh.
And like, so I was like, what am I supposed to do? And even my teacher was like, and I don't think this was I know this teacher, I've known him since I was like 5 years old because I went to school with his daughter. So it wasn't anything. He was like, so like, what do you put down? And I was like, I don't know what to put down on here because I could only pick one, right? I don't know if that was at the time before other was on there. And even then I feel like that's problematic because like you don't know what other is. Like that could be me and so many other people across a wide range of backgrounds.
Yes.
Yeah. And it does hit that question because at the time I was like, I think I've always known I was different, but there's a time and place where you kind of just like bury it down. You don't think about it, right? I'm not going to think about it. I don't need to think about it. I don't know how to think about it. And then that kind of it jump started a lot of different conversations, internal conversations, some that weren't verbalized at all. And then to a point it became verbalized because like you have to, this is our experience. And, I didn't want to be under, like just be like, I'm going to be under the radar about it. What is there to be under the radar about? Right. Because the moment we walk out,
you kind of already feel like you are under the radar. Why like bury yourself even more?
Yeah. And it feels like that. But like, even for me, it's like, I appear more Asian looking. The moment we walk outside of the door, we're already othered. We can't do anything about it. So we might as well own up to it. You're already looking at me different. Well, you're going to know I'm different, right? Like,
Yeah.
That's how I feel now.
How did you feel like then? It's a lot of context, a lot of history, a lot of experiences. So then I guess kind of like trying to take some like grain out of like a piece of like a grain and all of that, right? Then how it really seems to be that you have a heart for service and a heart for community, for volunteering. Like, how did that happen? And can you also share like why it's important for people to give back?
Yeah, I think as a kid, like I just remember like at least with my grandmother, like my dad's mom, like I remember like we would always get we would always do this service where we got like free lunches, and I didn't contextualize it at the time. She's like, I'm gonna take you guys, like we're gonna get, they give us free lunches and stuff, and I realized that was like a program for, you know, giving
Oh
food,
yes, yeah.
yeah, food to kids. And I'm like, it wasn't like we were like dirt poor or anything, but like I didn't realize it till like as an adult. And I
That's
think,
what the
you
program
know,
was for.
yeah. And then when I went to
Yeah.
high school, of course, I was like, I don't have as much money as the rest of these people. I don't have all the nicest things here. I don't have this. I don't have that. But I knew I was really smart, and I don't want to use it as a way to flex on other people. But like,
Oh no,
I
go
stuck to my
flex.
book.
This is your
Yeah,
time.
no,
Flex
I
it.
stuck to my books, and like I was part of the National Honor Society at my school, and we had to volunteer. We like that was part of our thing. We had
Wow.
to, and which was great because we did a clothing drive for the homeless here in Pittsburgh, giving them like clothes like right before winter started and all that stuff, fundraising for that. I mean, even at school, my school newspaper, even with the help of my teacher, we started a book drive where we collected, you know, books to give to the students at our elementary school, and we were doing things like that. And then once I went to college, you know, I was part of these groups in high school, so I was like, I want to be part of these groups in college too. And I was part of like just one, it was like our campus activities board or something like that. That's how I kind of started in that. And then I got in my organizations at school, and I was like, this is fun. This is what we have to do. But then, you know, I really started getting involved in the nonprofits once I went to grad school. And that's where it all like comes together. I'm like, it's not only doing stuff for, you know, people that work in the same field as me, it's doing stuff with our community as well. And there's always, it's important, even just showing up is just as important. You don't need to do all the legwork and do all that stuff, but just showing up shows like there's a cause to be here for, and helping others is what we can do. And I always, my motto, I think, in my life now is I want to be the person I wish I had when I was a kid, right? We all do. So slowly but surely, nothing's perfect, but even if it just shows a glimpse of life to somebody else, that's what you want to do, right? And even me being part of like a Filipino association, like a lot of people my age, in at least my area, aren't, right? And let alone like who's out here like multiracial, who's out here mestizo being part of stuff like that. And I think that holds a lot of power, especially for a lot of kids growing up, you know, questioning like, oh, am I this or not? But like, I already see myself there. He's already here. We're already doing it. Right. So I already feel the representation, even in that shows like, you know, there. And that's just from that perspective, from my perspective too, of just being like half and, you know, dealing with that. But even school, it's like, oh, we're working on these scholarships, and like it's a process because we're busy, we're working adults. But even if it changes somebody's life, and if we just don't want it just to be towards school, we want it to be towards like trade stuff as well, because that's just as important. I think, you know, people get on each other about like the type of jobs that they're working, but every job is just as important, and we don't function without each other, right?
Yeah.
And people need to start framing that in that way, because like people look down on, you know, essential workers and like
The
some of the
real
service stuff.
essential workers, yeah.
Yeah, and it's like just because I have this degree or something like that does not negate that I need you in this life, because I want to be able to do what I do without you, right? And I think when you start framing your mind like that, we are a community. We don't work without each other. We may think we do. And it's a very American ideal to think that we do, but we wouldn't function without working together, right? So that's kind of where I'm at with that.
Yeah, which I will, you know, also would like to like add to that. I think the term "pusong Pinoy," I think that's really, you know, I'm sure you'd agree with me. I think like for the most part, you know, as Filipinos, we really have. I don't know. I mean, I don't know where it came from, but it really feels to me that we have the heart for service. You know, just kind of like the heart to give, even if sometimes we have nothing, but we're still giving.
Yeah.
You know, and which actually I will also say too, does come with its own sets of like problem. You know, like
Yeah, it's not perfect.
wala kang utang. Wait, I can't wait. I know how to say that. Why did I say that wrong? Wala kang utang na loob, walang hiya. You know, like all these things that are like, excuse me. You know?
Yeah, and I think there's always, it's not perfect, right?
Yeah, you
You
did
know,
mention that. Yeah.
you could give, but some people they want stuff in return. Some things you can't return, right?
Yes.
And I think that's, you know, whether that's financially, whether that's it. And I think for a lot of Filipinos, especially for the immigrant ones, a lot of them, they come from hard lives. They don't want
Mhm.
they don't want to continue that type of life. They want
They
to
don't want
get
to go
back.
back.
They don't want to go back, because I would even say with my mom, and she did not really hype this up as much as I feel like I should have hyped it up more for her. Is that even in a pandemic, like in the Philippines, like we're lucky that we got maybe stimulus or unemployment. So a lot of Filipinos did it. And she was out here feeding like the village that she grew up in. I didn't even know about it. So I saw like the police department over there posted on Facebook. And I was like, I didn't even know that she did that,
Uh,
but she like fed like everyone there, got all this rice, got all that stuff. And I'm like, look, that's things like that. You don't know about it until someone else brings it up. And, and I think it's kind of ingrained in you as a Filipino too. You know how many times our families have sent balikbayan boxes back to the family at home?
oh,
Like,
I know. We just took one like a
all
couple
my
like
old clothes are
last week.
gone. Yeah,
Huh?
we just did too. All my old clothes are gone. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? It's like we give that away. And what's great about, being with my girlfriend too and her family, I brought up like, hey, we do this stuff for, the folks, our family and folks there. And even they were like, yeah, we do have clothes that we'd like to give. And they give all these clothes, which is nice because we had all these girl clothes because it's always guy clothes because I
Uh,
have a brother, I have a dad, like, and it's just my mom. But now it's like we can give more, right? So it
yeah.
was like great to do that.
Nice.
She has two sisters, my girlfriend. So it's like with the three of them, there's clothes for days.
Well, then there you go. You all just need to make it official and get married, and then you all become the Brady Bunch. And the Balikbayan box will be filled with both
All the good
male
stuff.
and female clothes. There you go. End of
Yeah.
story.
Yeah. And it doesn't matter who wears it either, too. You always
Right?
put it out.
Exactly. There you go.
Yeah.
See, that's a fun part.
Whoever
The guy
gets
could
it.
be wearing the girl clothes, and the girl could
Yeah.
be wearing the guy clothes.
Yeah. As long as there's a selection,
And as
it's
long
good
as
for
people
them
are
to have.
warm. Yeah.
Yeah. That's all that matters.
Nice. Kapatida, I actually have a few more questions if that's okay.
Yeah.
You're doing like I know it's we ran a little late, but I just wanna I guess now that you're like 25, looking back at your whole journey, what does it feel to you now to be Filipino? Or maybe in your case, half Filipino because that's what it says on your thing, on your
Yeah.
Instagram, on your Instagram handle. What does that feel to you to be true?
Well, yeah, I mean, I would even bring this up because I know a lot of people like, oh, it says half and all that stuff. The only reason why I put half is because that's just my experience and that's who I am. And I'm always cognizant as I don't walk this life as someone who is full Filipino. I don't. And I think that's very important to highlight, not only here in the US, but even in the Philippines. Because in the Philippines, a lot of the people in media, a lot of the beauty industry, they have my skin tone. They look more like me. And that's something to be said when, let me look at my family. No one looks like this, right?
Mhm.
Like me, my brother literally looks like a white guy. And my
Oh.
cousin, she's half as well. She lives in France. We're the only ones in our family that are lighter. Everyone else is dark. And I mean, I'm not counting my mom. My mom is very light because like there's that one sister who's just very light for no reason. That happened to be my mom.
Oh,
So
yeah.
she doesn't count when it comes to that. But it's true. And even in the U.S., when I walk out, I'm Asian looking, but I'm not dark. I don't have
Mhm.
the brown Filipino skin.
Yeah.
And even though I may have the nose and like some features, maybe cheekbones, but I don't have everything, that is very in your face. That you can see that's different. But
Yeah.
for me, it's just like take away appearance. But at heart, it's like I grew up with all the food. I still eat the food, do all that, all the traditions that go along. Again, bringing up the Christmas pearls when it's
You
like
give back,
give back.
giving back. Oh goodness.
Yeah. And I even like I know like a debate about like, even the monopole, like,
Oh
grabbing the
yeah.
elder's hand and stuff.
Manopo, let's go. Come on.
I have issues with it personally, but it's still there, you know what I mean? Like, and just giving respect to like our elders, even though I do believe though that like respect goes both ways, of
Oh
course.
yeah.
That's something that
Amen.
we bring up. Respect goes
Hmm.
both ways, but we
Yes.
should also always try to give some respect to people who came before us. But if they disrespect you, that's different. Um, there's a line
Yes.
between that. You just gotta use your best judgment to assess those situations. But it's everything. It's culture, it's food, it's music, and I know for a lot of us too, it's dance as well. just the traditional dances. I would say too. We
Oh
have a
yeah, you
dance
had
troupe
a
here.
shoot recently. I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah, so like we were doing stuff for, just a local foundation here. It's more like a fundraising opportunity. And I hate that it was just like a photo shoot because what is it, the guy who usually dances it, he couldn't get there on time. He has a kid now and things like that. So he couldn't get to the photo shoot on time. So they're like, "Do you want to do it?" I was like, "All right, I'll do it."
Oh
But
wow.
it was very cathartic to be dressed up in that traditional wear because look, my family's from Mindanao and I got to put on, a Muslim Mindanao traditional, I don't want to say costume, traditional attire that is for Paun July.
Wardrobe? Yeah, no, I get that
Yeah,
too because I called it costume, but then I was like, no, it feels like a
yeah,
costume to me because it's
yeah,
not our like wear, but it's theirs, you know?
yeah. And it was Paun July is the dance, and it's
Mm.
the prenuptial dance in parts of, predominantly more Muslim Mindanao in the Philippines. And it just
See,
felt
look, oh, mine's.
love that. I
Yeah,
love that. It was
yeah.
very cathartic. I will say that because I was just like, look, and I need more time, but I want to learn to dance. My boy Jason, he's a small little Chino boy, but he can dance his ass off. I
Oh,
will
Kuya
say
Kuya
that.
Jason, right?
No, not him, but he can dance too. But like here in
Oh, you're
Pittsburgh,
talking about a different
um,
Jason.
yeah,
Shut up.
no, like, but
Okay.
because I've seen him dance it before, and he learned it from scratch. Like he literally found his way to research and put that dance together. And like I just saw it again recently. We had a going away party for one of our titas. She's moving to Louisiana because her mga apo, they live there, so she wants to go there. Um, yeah. So she's leaving, so we threw a going away party. So we, of course, we had the dances, and I was just like, it's so like, thank you so much for that. Like,
Mhm.
and I think it's very important. And in the stories I was hearing from there, a lot of people got involved in the dance troupe and all that stuff because, their kids wanted to be involved in the community. They wanted to learn more about their culture. And that is holding a lot of culture together to see these dances. And they're not everyday American type thing. They're
Oh,
not.
mhm. Yeah.
But like seeing it and then even just seeing like Tini Kling, like, it's so fun. It's something that we do. I mean, I don't, that's not me specifically, but our dance troupe that they do. After they do Tini Kling, they always pull the audience to teach them how to do like the slow version of it. And
Oh yeah.
it's always different types of folks. And,
Hmm.
I think it's great because it's like, this is our culture, we're showing it, but we're welcoming you here with us to be
Hmm.
part of it as well. And I think that's what's important. We're not like, we're not gatekeeping our culture, right? You can't, you know what I mean? It's not just for us. We want you to be
That's a
part of it too.
reminder. That's it. That is a reminder. I feel like I kind of being someone that like really loves our heritage. I like find myself sometimes being like this, like guarding it. But then I'm like, no,
Hmm.
you have to give it like that is part of the thing is to give it, give it
Yeah.
back. Yeah. Kapatid, before I ask you the closing question, because what and I this actually was not part of my original question. I just thought of it the whole time we were talking, and this is actually the first time I'll be asking someone this. But
Yeah.
being someone who is both Filipino and white South Asian, what does this month mean to you? Being the Filipino American History Month.
I think it's very important, Filipino American History Month, especially with the prevalence that it has now. Like even when growing up, I didn't know about it. Like I really didn't know about it. And it's not a heritage month, it's a history month. And it's very specific that it's a
Okay,
history month.
period. Why?
Yeah.
I Can you clarify that for those that I just recently found that out too, actually.
Yeah, I mean, very specific because the things that Filipinos have experienced here in the U.S. are completely different.
Oh
Let,
yes.
let's bring up to the fact they're one of the first Asians to be here in somewhat modern times. Modern, I'm going back to like maybe like pre-colonial days here in the U.S. at least. But
Yes.
we've been here, and then the amount of times that people have been evicted, people have been killed, the amount of people that couldn't get married because people put laws against us. And there was a time like someone like me wouldn't exist
Hmm.
just a century ago, right?
Yes.
Wouldn't be
Yeah.
in the US legally. And, even then, Asian Americans across the board, we didn't even get full rights here until 1952, full citizenship and things like that. So when
Hmm.
you have Filipino history, American History Month, it's very important. And Filipinos are part of the backbone of our healthcare system, and especially with a pandemic and Filipino nurses being disproportionately affected by COVID and dying because of it. It's very important to highlight that this month is important, not as a heritage month. It's important for us to have heritage, but History Month, it's important to bring up and let people know what our people had to deal with and what they've experienced coming to this country and continue. And think about it too. We were part of World War II on so many different fronts. There's a lot of Filipinos who fought for our military in the U.S.
That's why we're all here, because there's somebody who served in the military.
Yeah. There's so much, and people don't realize too, like the Philippines was a colonial state of the U.S. at one point. Yes. And we can't throw that under the rug. We were the largest colony that they've ever had, and it ran for decades. And there's a lot of consequences to that, and that they're still reeling from, like in the Philippines itself. And it predates just when we rolled up, when the Americans rolled up there. Predates that with the Spanish. But there's so much American influence there still playing out, and we have to be very cognizant of that.
Yeah, which is why we're having this episode over here. We're talking about this. I think it's very, very not only poignant, but very it's real, y'all. It is real, y'all. I just want to say thank you for answering this last question before we proceed with my closing question for the episode, which I love to ask people. And that question for you is, what is the legacy that you would like to leave behind?
Legacy I'd like to leave behind. I mean, for me, it's just always give to the people that you can give to, and make sure that, again, you are being the person that you wish you could have had when you're younger, and strive to be, a great person. I mean, at the end of the day, like, things happen. We're not perfect, we're never going to be perfect in stuff. I mess up time to time, frequently. That's life. But for me, it's above me, right? It's always above me. I want to be part of it, changing it, but I don't also need to be at the forefront of being the face of it either. I'm okay taking a step back, because we can't always be in the forefront, right? We have to prop other people up, because they're just as important to prop up. So for me, it's just about, if you can help other people, be the representation you need to, because a lot of the time we don't have the representation we need, but we are that representation. And we hold a lot of value being in these rooms that weren't built for us in the first place. I say that too, like, getting to the table is like one thing. Being at the table holds a lot of value, because this table wasn't built for us, but we should also leave space to create tables for ourselves and help prop other people up. And that's what I want to do. What that will look like, we'll see. Just take it day by day and strides, and we'll see what it looks like later. But as long as we're sticking to that, that's where I would like to be.
Yes, period. Oh gosh, my friend from New York got me saying that. I just recorded her episode just came out recently, and she says period all the time. I'm like, period. Kapatid, thank you so much for coming on to the show. Wow. I'm
maraming salamat.
Ay, Tagalog na tayo. Where can people find you? Where can people, new followers, new friends, new fans, where can people come and show you some love?
Just find me at Half Filipino. I found a way to find it on a bunch of social platforms. I don't know how I copped it, but like Instagram, Twitter, if you want to hit up, even LinkedIn. I changed it on LinkedIn. I don't even care. Professionally, I don't even care. I'm on that website, not for me to post, but I'm on it way too much for clients. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to do it. If you don't want me, then I don't want to work for you. That's it. But my job, lucky for them, they take me and all my Filipino-ness, and the best
they should, if they want to work with you.
Yeah, that's why I said too. I remember in our D&I meeting, I brought that, and I know this is digressing a bit, but it's like, if you want to break bread, if you want to break bread with me, you have to be here for me, and other people. So that's what I'm saying. You want to make money off me, you gotta be here for me too, right? We should all feel that way.
Amen. Yay! Wow, y'all, we made it to the end of the episode, y'all. I just really want to say, super thankful for this really, really special engagement, because I'll be honest, like, even though we've been following each other for a while, our conversations were very minimal, but in the end, like, for me, in my end, he was someone, our kapatid over here, someone I've respected from the get-go. And that's why when I had the opportunity to be like, I need a next guest on my show, it's October, I'm gonna ask him. And I'm glad he said yes. And we did it. Y'all, thank you again. And we made it to the end of the episode. This is Soul Supremacy, where we talked about all things unapologetic, all things passion and in pursuit of. And we will see you next Friday for another episode for, I don't know who the guest will be, but there'll be someone. So thank you guys. See you. Bye. Thank you, kapatid.
Thank you.